Hello, everyone. Welcome to this special edition of DevOps Chat, where we have back with us Jim and Michele McCarthy. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. It's so nice to be here, too. It's pretty much the favorite thing we did last year. We really enjoyed the DevOps.
What does that say about the rest of your year?
It's kind of rough.
Yeah, not much. I guess you got me there.
But
this
anyway,
guy's asking hard questions.
It's harder than last time. So, I mean, the last DevOps chat we did with you was absolutely amazing. It was one of my highlights, I think. As often happened with DevOps chat, it wasn't so technically focused. It was all about teams. I remember some of the comments about, do you need conflict in a team? What amount of conflict do you need? Some discussion about trust. So it was a fantastic chat we had. And then I was really delighted that you got in touch last week, was it? And said, look, we've got some other stuff we've been working on and we'd really like to share. So let's dive straight in, and perhaps you can tell us a little bit about that and the story about the story behind what you've been working on.
Well, okay, so in 1995 or 6, we left Microsoft. We were with the Visual C++ team, and we were doing a lot of experimentation there. And we had reached like a state of continuous delivery, and we'd had a lot of success with that, a big turnaround there. And Michele had that a job as like something we didn't even know what to call. It was a team coach, though. Is what it turns out to be, But it was just Michele coaching people. And that was real radical, and to actually assign someone just for that. And someone of her capability, too, was great. And the team called her Counselor Troy, because she could detect, Captain, I sense anger, Anyway. So we started this thing you can't experiment in $100 million or $500 million business, at the rate we would want to experiment. And so, plus we were developing and shipping, only a couple times a year. There's 200 people in the team. It was just a big deal to do the sort of real learning at high speed that we had to do. So we thought, well, we'll just set up a thing where we simulated and we simulated team, and we simulated development, and everything we learned there, then we'll just, pull that out and learn it and apply it to the next round. And so we called that boot camp. And there was no other boot camp except the Marines and the Army. In fact, the guy from the Marines called and said, "Did you get permission to use that phrase?" And I was like, "What? Really?" He was just kidding. But we were like an early boot camp idea, because the idea was a transformation to begin with, like to just change. And that's what boot camp did. It instilled new values and stuff. So anyway, we started this experimental thing where teams would come in and we would assign them to figure out everything they needed to be a great team by the end of the week, which they had to prove by shipping something. And then we would simulate the bosses. All right. Now, we had to learn everything we had done intuitively with the previous portion of our lives, the previous couple of decades in my case and a decade in Michele's case. And so we did that for a long time, boot camp, and exactly the same structure and assignment. And, it took us a while to figure out simple things like, hey, every team doesn't have to figure out everything. Like, that was a big insight. I mean, really, it was like 6 boot camps into it. And I went, boy, the last team took 3 days to figure out how to make a decision. And then Michele went, why don't we just tell them?
I got really sick of that. I got really sick of it. And
so she started writing it.
So I wrote down all the stuff that everyone.
That we knew, right?
Well, that we knew from watching the other team so far.
Well, and all we would say is not that you had to do this, but that other people in your position have done this successfully.
We're giving this to them to start. I'm not going to teach this all over again. They can just have it to start with.
It was so painful. It was so painful because, like once we learn a couple of things, but you can move as a team, but we were waiting for everybody to discover everything because we were scientists, I guess. And we were trying to have a scientific point of view and not interfere too much. But anyway, so over a period of many years, many teams, many continents, and many types of teams, not just mostly high tech teams, but also teams of teachers. Like we did a course for the blind, kids. We were on every continent we could get to, and tried to have a real diverse gene pool. We did it in jungles of Malaysia, literally, every person who ever wanted to be on a great team and was willing to work on it came to boot camp simulation, is the way I feel about it. Several thousand people worked on this. And it was always the same experiment. And at a certain point, many, many years after we started, like, I don't know how many years was that? Anyway, it was the 2015 is when we realized that the team did everything without any cheats. I mean, there was this one stubborn cheat, which the book said, at this point, ask Jim for his talk. Because like this was the climax of the team when they hit their shared vision and go into ship mode and they just become transformed. And there was always a little goose that they had to get. And then eventually the goose was in the body. It was out of us and it was into the lore. And the team went all the way through the boot camp without needing any Jim McCarthy storytelling or pushing or cheerleading or whatever. And that was Boot Camp 1.0, and it was a 20-year project. But in the course of doing this, we learned, we have it all. That's kind of the message, I guess. We have it all. We have everything you need to transform yourself, your life, and your team. And we have it in pieces, and we have it in an event, and we have it in writing, and we have it in podcasts, and we just wanted to make sure that people knew that we actually had this thing, right? Because the market is now, we've always just said, we're just doing boot camp, you'll be a better team, like our message was not. And then all this agile stuff came up and started doing stuff, and they were just, really just trying to get to where they could get to continuous delivery, right? I mean, that's where we started, right? So in some ways it was just not the same thing, and what? But when I lost my train of thought.
So it's a great story. And,
it's a big story, yeah.
And just to check my understanding here, is what you're saying that Boot Camp 1.0 was kind of the moment where you could hand this material over to a team and they could run with it, and it no longer needed you and Michele to guide them in the same way, or what?
Well, we've always had since about 3 or 4 years in, we certified people to conduct these boot camps and so on, but it took years of hand-holding before we felt that we could anoint bishops, as it were, to go do these boot camps, because well, it's all, like, I know what I was going to say too. Yes, it got so we didn't need to fiddle with it. We didn't need to teach people how to fiddle with it. It just works.
Right.
And the reason it just works is because all the pieces are there, right? If you're going to have a transformation, like, what do you need? Well, there's starting to actually be research, right? I mean, we considered all of our work research. We published a big book in 2001 or something like that.
2001.
Software for Your Head. And that's a really important book about this technology. And Addison Wesley published that. And so we felt that we were conducting research, but people have neglected to cite our work, unfortunately, which is sad for everybody because we skip a lot of time for everybody else. But the research is popping out, and they're saying, you know what you need? You need high levels of engagement. And we're going, yeah, right, check. Like we have people like bleeding as they're so engaged and just screaming with tears and joy and huge like mountaintop and hellish experiences combined to discover what does it take to be a great collaborative team. now. The job is I have to figure that out now, and all the resources were there. There's no stories. There's nobody stopping you. And so that was, yes, engagement, check, and then they go, well, you need psychological safety. I always like that one. Yeah, hell yes, you need psychological safety. You better believe it. Right? How exactly do you want us to achieve that? And what are the elements there too? We got that. Right? We've got, like in less than a page or two, how to create psychological safety. Enough safety to where you'll say the ideas, right? So where you'll care about the result, to where you'll engage. Psychological safety. Another one that's a word I think is one of the words we coined. It doesn't make any difference. It's a great word called alignment, right? And that's a big problem, right? Like, how do you get a team aligned? Well, we figured that out, right? By over and over and over. You have to get aligned now because you got to ship in 2 days. So that's something we have, right? And if you're going to transform, it's going to be personal. That's the biggest disappointment.
There's so much I want to ask now that you've said all that.
Go, and Michelle should probably answer.
I was going to say, let's
she's the brains of the outfit.
Let's bring you in there, Michelle. One thing that I think is very interesting is people talk about transformation, people talk about organizational change, but of course, what is an organization? It's usually a number of teams, one or more teams. And what's a team? It's it's at least two, I suppose, people, isn't it?
A team is a person or a team.
Yeah, it consists
and we said that you got to have 3 to really have a team.
Yeah, okay. So when you start to think about transformation, where do you begin? Is it about individuals changing? Is it about organizational structures changing? What do you see as the kind of the starting point?
The starting point? The starting point is with the individuals you can look at it different ways. Because it depends what you're trying to do. If you personally just personally want to take on a team or a company or whatever, then it starts with you and you following the core protocols and the commitments and like integrating that into your life and your behavior. If you start with, our team, we're going to do this together, and whoever is in charge of the team invites everyone to do a boot camp, transformation boot camp, and transform the team, then that's where you'd start. But even then, when you get to the boot camp, it starts with the individuals. That's how you get aligned. Any alignment comes from each person having a good understanding of what they want and the support of all the other team members in getting what they want. That's where alignment comes from.
Right.
Because do you see the alignment there? The alignment, instead of the old worldview, which is it's either me or them, right? Like, I either have to go to work and sacrifice myself, or I stay home and I get what I want.
And our company's got this dumb
It's me or them. So the alignment is when you go, it's me. When I get what I want, they get what they want. And when they get what they want, I get what I want. It aligns instead of being at loggerheads with each other.
So, and that's, right. If I'm understanding correctly, that was something that really struck me in the last conversation we had, was this, that you're saying achieving alignment isn't about I, as the leader, get everyone aligned with my vision and what I want.
Right.
Exactly.
It is actually, it's almost it's not even the opposite. It is everyone on the team sharing what they want to achieve and aligning with each other.
The commitment they have to make up front is to know and disclose what they want. And that's very difficult. I mean, it's very difficult to know what you want. I mean, if you even said to me, what do I want out of this video? I'd go, I'd fall apart, because we haven't done the necessary alignment work to really make it perfect. But we know we enjoy each other, so it's going good. But in a team, that's the majority of the work, is people engaged in very, very proximate, intimate dialogue with each other about what they want. And when you listen to what someone, as they figure out what they really want, it almost always is a virtue. It's something that, and a virtue is something that you can't have too much of. That's impossible to have too much virtue. So it's like everybody's going, yeah, you definitely need that. We want you to get that. How can we help you? Right? And that becomes what we call the web of commitment. Is we're all committed to getting what we want. And then we go, so what kind of a world shall we create while we get everything we want? And then you have a vision for a series of products.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think what's really, really important here is that it's easy to overlook or not think about or not understand that transformation begins from the inside out at any level you look at it.
No one gets to skip.
Inside out. If you do not do inside out, you will not get transformation, or you will get something twisted.
You'll get some horrible parody of transformation,
right,
which is really what we see in a lot of these adoptions.
And
so mandated,
So when I know the idea of transformation is big right now, but I'm not hearing, and this is really important, that transformation starts with you. Like
right.
You don't get it for free. Like
no boss can get it for free.
At a minimum, you have to be willing to follow someone who's transforming. Right? If you fight them, then there's no transformation.
And you see, this was also something I thought was really interesting in our last conversation, and also in the Twitter chat, because I think some of these things, when you sort of initially talk about them, sound quite soft, if I can use that word, but actually you realize that they're not. They're really hard. And I remember one.
Baby.
What's that?
We are as hardcore as it gets.
But I remember,
we are ruthlessly empirical.
But I remember something. It was Jim. You tweeted this back to someone in the chat said, but what if you're in an environment where people don't support each other? And I think your very short tweet said something like, well, then you change so that you support people, and then, hey presto, you're in an environment where people support each other.
Exactly. You don't get to if you want transformation, right, you have to change. And one of the things that is really a big change, and I was just teaching this to someone yesterday, and I realized how big a deal it is. And that is, you said, how do you start? Well, really, where we started as the basic idea is like, what are we going to do about these feelings? Right? There's just a lot of feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And how are we going to make that good and productive? And that's where all the information is, right? All the truth is in the feelings. And like, feelings never lie, right? They're always true. That's their whole thing, is they're driving the show. They're the truth. They're what's going on inside of you.
Yeah.
And so like, how do we get the feeling? And so we kind of just came up with a model for feelings. And that's the only tool we gave them, was like, there are 4 feelings. Here's their definitions. And here's how you disclose your feelings to each other routinely.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we had the model that you always got these 4 feelings going. You could always pick one and share something about yourself and be more present.
Yep.
By including your feelings. That's also a huge part of the safety. But just organizing the feelings and saying, here's how we're going to talk about feelings. I'm not saying it's the truth. I'm saying it's the most useful idea we can come up with.
Yeah.
And just imagine going to work every day in, let's say, a corporate setting or a small business setting, and that the feelings, everyone's feelings, are organized. And I don't mean organized in
robotic,
creepy way. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, organized in that, like, we actually have a shared understanding of that we share feelings with each other, that we have names for them, that if we have them, we say what they are instead of acting them out.
When we have
Having feelings is natural. It happens. You are constantly having feelings, that they are welcome. Feelings are welcome, and on and on.
right. If you it's like an organized point of view on feelings, right? And that's just not something that's in our culture, and it's basically because, well, there's a lot of reasons for that, but basically when Freud discovered the unconscious, right, and like, whoa, he wanted to be a doctor, and so he turned his attention to abnormal psychology. Basically, we just turned our attention to normal psychology.
And so if I remember correctly, in the core protocols, you have this the four feelings, which I think were mad, glad, sad, afraid. Have I got that?
Afraid. They are mad, sad, glad are all together. They rhyme, and afraid's all alone.
And I think you also said that sometimes you can combine them. So excitement is
that's a palette.
Yeah. So excitement becomes glad and afraid, maybe.
That's right. That's our classic example of the combination.
Yeah.
But to be honest, people don't combine them much.
Right. Okay.
But you can. I just don't want everybody to feel like, well, I got more feelings than that. Yes, right. It's the people that complain about our feeling model are always the ones that never say anything about their feelings. I got so many feelings. I'm like, well, can you say 4 of them?
No, Jim. Mine are so nuanced that I can't possibly explain.
I can't possibly.
I can't talk about.
I can't fit them in those 4 areas.
But it's interesting because without me intending to, I ended up using that model from time to time, even just for myself. And it's amazing how just having a little check where you go, well, how am I feeling about this? Yeah, I'm scared. Or
it's transformative.
Yes.
To actually have a model and a reasonable approach to your own sensations of being alive. And then the next step is like,
very manly of you, David.
That is it is. And that's Michelle's kind of master stroke of motivation for every guy. It's like, boy, when you cry, I get really kind
all
of
the men I like
turned on.
Go, hey, I had a feeling, and I realized what it was.
I know that happens, and it's just so transformative. It's like, oh yeah, okay. See, but what happens is let's say that you can say you're mad. And then you go, I'm mad at you for doing this, or I'm mad that this sucks, or what. That's not what we're talking about.
No.
Right? So we put some structure to the exchange of feelings that makes it a very high bit rate exchange, very rich information that cannot be used to hurt you. Right? And that's the big problem with feelings.
In order to maintain psychological safety.
Right.
If you're unsafe, you are scared and mad and sad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, organizing the team around feelings is how you create. It's like one of the main ways you create psychological safety.
Well, yes, because as soon as you can say you're mad, you're not going to punch me.
Yep, it's true.
That's where we add the whole purpose of thinking is to be able to deal with those feelings. That's why it's such a spotty art, thinking. It's not that useful compared to feeling.
So I think just to help people's understanding here, because I think we've kind of talked about the core protocols and we've talked about some of the specifics, but maybe before we finish, let's just be really clear about the materials that are there that people can access and they can start using. So I guess there's the core protocols documents.
Well, yes, it's 11 pages, and associated with each protocol has a set of commitments, like I will never say anything about the feeling you tell me you have. I won't say anything. Right? That's a commitment, except for welcome, right? That the feeling's welcome.
Yeah.
And so those are the commitments. And then there's it's like a Unix man page is what I stole, which is the oldest thing there is, right? But you just go, what are some tips, right? And what are some notes? and C also, And so all that, everything in the core, all that you need is based on like 11 pages, 11 protocols, 11 overall commitments, and then each protocol has commitments.
And those are on a couple of websites. They're on our website, mccarthyshow.com.
Yeah.
They're on a website called liveinGreatness.com.
Right.
The software for your head is also on liveinGreatness.com. And
it's
there
free.
are 130 something podcasts. Many of them go into great detail about each commitment and each protocol, the podcast. Those are on mccarthyshow.com, McCarthy Show being the name of the podcast. And then there are workshops going on all the time. Different people around the world do different types of workshops. And then we are having boot camp coming up July 15th.
July 15th through the 20th here at Crystal Lake, which is a beautiful, beautiful place to be in July, outside of Seattle. And it's really gorgeous, ravishingly beautiful here, and it's just a very special place with eagles and magic and beauty, and the picture of Earth at its most benign and lovely.
So there's kind of a spectrum for the time-starved. If they just want to know what they need to start doing now, they can read the core protocols in a few pages. The book, I suppose, gives the story behind the protocols and perhaps more background. You've got the podcasts, which I've listened to. I can't say I've listened to all of them. I've probably listened to about 40 of them, which are fantastic.
No wonder you're doing better.
But also they're entertaining. They're great to listen to. They're very insightful.
Thank
so yeah, they're fantastic. And then if you really want to immerse yourself into it, then workshops or sessions, I guess, is the way to really.
Right.
There's also, I just want to add, there's also on Facebook, there's a closed group, a private group. So you don't even have to participate in Facebook to do this. A closed group called The Booted. And all you have to do is ask to be let in, and all the commitments are in place in The Booted. We moderate it, and so you can ask any questions, or you can practice protocols, or anything you want to do is live in there.
Yeah, you can lurk and watch people check in and do work on their alignment. And see, in that space, like, we're running that software for your head, that software that is the core, and it's. Running it's like I can give you a manual on sex, or you could have sex, There's a big difference, right? So, yes, the 11 pages, you can start there, but you're not going to be too impressed with it, because you're going to go, oh, well, that's obvious, which is like most of the insights. Like, yeah, it's obvious. And when you sit there and stare at the blood on the bricks, for 2,000 years and 100,000 generations. But, yeah, it is obvious. And the only thing is, you gotta want to transform, not to have others transform.
I also started The Booted on LinkedIn, because I know a lot of people have been not wanting to go to Facebook lately.
Right. Okay.
So if you want to go to The Booted on LinkedIn, it's only a few people right now, but I'm happy to moderate that and work with you up there too. So
what we'll do, we'll include links to all of these underneath the video on YouTube and on the webpage when we post it. And I think in the Twitter chat itself, we're going to spend some time with people exploring some aspects of the protocols with yourselves, and maybe we even try and get people at the end to take a personal challenge to see what they can apply or what they can do practically next. To have a go with some of this stuff.
I really want to encourage people, though, to come to this particular boot camp that Michele and I are doing. It's the first of a whole new round on just installing transformational engine for you that you take with you. And we're even doing a follow-up course that's about personal transformation and group transformation. But it's a lifelong endeavor, right? I mean, but it actually works, and we've achieved it. So we want to make sure people know that, and that they really, really do want to come to this thing on July 15th. Here's a couple of things. When you come to a boot camp, it's $3,500 for this particular boot camp. It's 5 days and nights. And if you can't afford that, see us. No one's ever been turned away from a boot camp for lack of cash. But the other thing is the $3,500, that's a family ticket. Michele and I always invite spouses and significant others and children because you're going to transform. And the biggest, most painful thing you're going to say to us is, God, I wish my wife had been here. I wish my husband had been here. I don't even know how to go home to him anymore, And it's a whole new world, right? And so you come back then, usually, the people that boot, we call it, and we're going to say now, you're going to want your significant others to be there because your life is your life. It's not professional and home life and work life. That is all wrong thinking. You've got this one life,
Okay, we gotta end it.
Okay.
Getting the warnings.
I can't end it. I can't emphasize enough. We're not going to do infinite numbers of boot camps personally. This one is going to be a big one.
Okay.
Good stuff. Right. Excellent chatting to you again, and really looking forward to the Twitter chat as well. So
thank you, David.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Take care.